and welcome to episode 1 of Your Money Questions Answered. I'm your host, Elena Pearson Arroyo, Client Engagement Manager at Washington Financial Group. In today's episode, we're going to answer the question, will I have enough money at retirement? But first, a quick word from the good folks at Compliance.
The opinions voiced in this program are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Global Retirement Partners LLC, a registered investment advisor. Global Retirement Partners, LPL Financial and Washington Financial Group are separate non-affiliated entities.
And now, on to the show. I'm joined today by Charlotte Kanka, Director of Client Services at Washington Financial Group. Charlotte, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Are you awake on this Monday morning?
Yes, after Mother's Day weekend. Can't go wrong there.
Wonderful. Well, I hope that you and your many sons all did something very enjoyable.
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Good. I hope they got you flowers at least.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, rough subject. Anyways, I'm also joined by Rick Hope, one of our talented retirement plan specialists at Washington Financial Group. Happy Mother's Day to you also, Rick.
Well, good to be here. Good morning, Elena. Good morning, Charlotte.
Good morning, Rick.
Yeah, no, we had a fun time yesterday.
Good. I'm so glad. So today we are going to be discussing whether I will have or an individual will have enough money at retirement. So specifically, how do we really know? What do these account values mean? How much we should be contributing? And sort of ways that people can evaluate whether they're on track at different intervals of their life cycle of actually contributing to their retirement plan. So what are some ways that you are able to determine whether or not somebody is on track, Rick?
You know, that's kind of the $64,000 question. We do a lot of employee meetings, as you know, and the question that we get asked, or the sister question to that, is how much do I need to save for retirement, is a great question, and we've got a good answer for that. There was a major firm that did a study that's determined you need to put away 15% of your income. Now, that includes the employer contribution. Mm-hmm. But if you put the 15% away, so for example, if the employer contribution is 5, you put away 10%, you're going to get to that goal that you need to be at retirement time.
Well, and I also think that part of the thing to really hone in on when you're trying to decide whether you have enough for retirement is you have to kind of know what your debts are going to be. I think a lot of people say, okay, so right now I'm paying student loans and I'm paying a mortgage and, I have health care and all these other things. And I think that when it comes time for retirement, maybe you're not going to have student loans, so maybe you're not going to need that 75 to 80% that everybody says you should have. You might only need really 40% because maybe you're going to get 10% from Social Security, and maybe all of your huge debts that you have are going to be gone. So I think that you have to take into consideration that aspect as well as what you're saving, what you're going to get from your savings.
Yeah. I think you're right on that. Each person's situation is different. The thing that we communicate a lot to the employees is pay yourself first. And so what does that mean? We get many bills throughout our life, lots of demands on our hard-earned income, but make your retirement plan one of the bills you pay first. Your employer makes that easy, takes it out of your pay. So there you go. Well,
and I also, as a mother of 4 young men, I also kind of, you have to teach them that I know that you're only 28 years old, but really retirement is a lot closer than you think. And, you're not going to miss $20 a paycheck now, but when you have to catch up when you're 50, you're going to miss $1,000 a paycheck. It's going to make a much bigger dent into it. So I think if you can put it into a number that is more understandable for the kids, who you're talking to, or even the older folks that you're talking to, if you just think a little bit in the forefront. And I know I have 4 children, so they all have totally different aspects of saving. One of them, as soon as they get $1 in their hand, the dollar's out the door. One of them gets $1 in their hand, 90 cents goes into their savings account. So a lot of it is dependent on your own individual self. But I think it's really important what Rick says is to pay yourself first. I mean, that goes back to the Depression aged folks that they always had that. You know, my mom and my dad, they made no money, but they put like 18 cents a paycheck away to buy a U.S. savings bonds when they went. So you just have to have a little bit of forethought. So
yeah, absolutely. And something that I noticed that Rick was saying that I think is interesting is you were talking about that magic number being that 15% with your employer contribution, right? So is that for somebody's whole life they want to be doing 15%? What about for those people who maybe are starting a little bit later and need to sort of start front loading those contributions? Maybe they didn't start contributing until they were in their 30s.
Yeah, good question. So it is an average. I mean, it does average out to 15% for your entire working career. But like everybody, you know, you're going to need to start at whatever point you can start at, and then average out to that 15% over your entire career. You know, the other saying we have here is you got to be willing to make a small sacrifice today to prepare yourself for that longest period of unemployment, which is
retirement.
There you go.
That's such a depressing way to think of retirement.
It's unemployment.
I always tell people, well, when you envision retirement, so when I think of retirement, I envision myself laying on a beach somewhere warm, and I'm being served fruit kebabs by Cabana Boys, and I'm sipping my iced teas or whatever. And so that's like retirement. It just magically happens.
Right.
Somebody gives me a check, and I can do that. But when you talk about it in terms of unemployment, it becomes this real thing that you actually have to plan for.
What happens Monday through Friday? Because that's only weekends is the kebabs on the beach.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's always really important to think about as well. And then something, Charlotte, I noticed that you mentioned earlier is that again, the other magic number of you want to replace your income to the tune of about like 75 to 80% in retirement.
Right.
And the reason that we shoot for 75 to 80% is generally, depending on who you ask, we kind of think of Social Security as taking care of that other percentage to get you to 100% replacement income in retirement. So talking about replacing your monthly paycheck, right?
Right.
But then the thing that you mentioned also is how much debt you have. So if you down pay your mortgage, for example, and you're able to pay that off, you might not need as much money in your retirement. You might not need to replace it by 75 to 80%. You might be able to do a little bit less.
Right.
So these things are also sort of factored into this equation. So what are some good resources to be able to gauge whether or not you're on track or exactly how much you're going to be able to need?
Well, I think there's so many tools that are available to you through your retirement plans. I think that if you go into your whoever your 401k provider is, there's always some sort of tool that can give you a retirement score or a green, yellow, or red light to let you know if you're on track for replacing that retirement paycheck. And what we're seeing now is that it's becoming a monthly figure that they're giving you so that you know if you're currently bringing home $5,000 a month, but maybe you've only saved so far to replace $3,500. So can you live on $5,000 a month 20 or 30 years down the line? So I think that if you have that color coding or however that's number score, you'll have that as a huge resource for you to know if you're on track.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that I use when I sit down with people. If you ever want to check to make sure you're on track and you want to customize those options, going onto your Record Keeper website and checking out those calculators, they're so customizable now. So you can really play around with those and sort of do it yourself and figure out how much you're going to need.
And that playing around is huge. If I up my contribution by 1%, can I make a huge difference in my retirement? So
perfect. If you have a question that you'd like us to address in a future episode, feel free to shoot us an email at info@washfinancial.com. Thanks for listening to Washington Financial Group's Your Money Questions Answered podcast. Connect with us at washfinancial.com. If you enjoy our show, we'd love for you to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you access your podcasts. Until next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.